morning, everyone. It is Saturday, July 12th, and we're here with Gardening Tips Live in the in the Knoxville Area Gardening Tips Facebook group. I am Amy Hahn, and I'm a Knox County Master Gardener, and I'm joined by my friends and fellow Master Gardeners, Lee Cheek, Margot Emery, and Brian Townsend, who's actually sitting in his car at Dixie Lee Farmers Market. And we're here to talk gardening today, and I made the mistake of not getting my screens ready like I like to have them before we got started. So it's going to take me a moment to find where I need to be to get, no, that wasn't what I wanted to do. Okay. Do you ever fight with your computer?
Yes, I fight with my computer all the time.
I fight with my computer and my screens regularly, and sometimes I win.
You just got to show who's boss.
Yeah, you got to be alpha. Yeah.
What I'm searching for now is I'm searching for this video so that I can share it with the gardening tips group and make it easier for people to find. And please click into the video so we can see your comments if you're joining us live, and resources we post. If you're watching this later, you might actually see the recording of the live video, but you might also see the link to this video on YouTube. If you go to the YouTube video, all the references we post should be in the description of the video, so you can find those, because we do generally post lots of comments. And so let me get to the gardening tips group. And my computer is being a little slow. And there we are. And I'm going to pin it to featured. And then I'm going to pin it to featured. And then I'm going to pin it to, I'm hearing me. And then I'm going to pin it to, is that me or is that someone else? And then I'm going to pin it to, is that me or is that someone else?
That's me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and you'll hear me talking in the background for a second here. Okay. There. Yeah, and you'll hear. Okay, now I got it muted. So I can monitor. Yeah, we're trying to get all of our screens set up so we can monitor the comments. And so that takes a moment, and then let me go and back into the group, because folks have asked us to do what is it, at everyone, so that they can see. It highlights it for a lot of people, so that they can find this video on Saturday mornings and communicate with us live, because we really do love to talk to everyone live. You know, that just makes it a much more interesting thing. Why am I just seeing Brian there? Oh, I know why I'm just seeing Brian. Okay, never mind. Let me go ahead and share my screen. We're going to get the slideshow going for this morning. I'm liking that we're having cooler nights than we were. You know, we were having some really hot nights a week or so ago, and the cooler nights are a big improvement. Though I would love to have a good deal more rain. I'm going to hide the bookmarks just so that more of the picture is showing for you all, so that it makes it easier to see. I was walking my garden the other day, and I saw something I've never seen in my garden before. And it's this plant here with the white flowers, and it's called Jimson weed. It is a native weed, native plant, and it's related to the angel's trumpet. Um, One thing about it is poisonous, and I really don't want it to set seed. So I pulled it up, and it was actually fairly easy to pull up. So you don't always, some weeds are very hard to pull up. This one was easy to pull up. And it was about 4 feet tall. I don't know how I didn't see it before. But sometimes, you don't see things. This is actually in Lee's garden. Go ahead, Lee, and tell us about it.
This is also a native. It's Jerusalem artichoke. And during the Civil War, the soldiers survived on the roots of this. Some people call them sunchokes. And but as Amy was telling me earlier, it's a bit invasive. And
Aggressive.
once you have it, you will always have it. I'm thinking about moving it someplace where it's right now it's shading out my my okra. So it's not growing because it doesn't get as much sun as it needs. Yeah.
Yeah. And they do have beautiful yellow flowers in the fall
Yep.
and I think the finches love the seed, a lot of the birds. Um, I have some that just sort of came in, um, what is it? They were already on the property, and then I have some that are an improved variety that makes a more bulbous tuber, and they are quite tasty. There's folks say be cautious about not eating too many of them because they can be sort of gas producers, but I think I dug one year I dug up like I have a patch that's pretty well established, and I dug up less than a foot square, and I harvested more than a pound. I think I harvested a couple pounds off of it. So that they produce a lot of food.
You want to say good morning to Mary Bartolini?
Oh, good morning, Mary. Glad you're with us. Hope you're
Yeah,
having a
she's
good
never
day.
heard of a sunchoke. Yeah.
Yeah, it's also called Jerusalem artichoke.
Yeah.
So that, or, another name is fartichoke, but that's, for people who have overindulged. Oh, this is also Lee's.
Yeah, that's my brown-eyed Susan are starting to bloom.
Okay, and one thing I realized is, so this is Lee's brown-eyed Susan.
No, sorry, black-eyed.
Oh, you're black-eyed Susan. Okay,
Yep.
so this is my brown-eyed Susan, and it's just starting to open. And I think it's got some sort of mites because it's not really showing signs of Astor's yellows, which is a pretty devastating disease for plants in the Astor family, which all the sunflowers are in that family. And this is a kind of a yeah, I think it is related to sunflower, a little loosely. Um, but you can see some of the leaves, some of the petals are a little distorted. But I looked it up, and that's usually a mite issue. But it's not got Astor's yellows. The whole flower head would be green or yellow and just distorted. And so these are just some distorted petals. So I'm not concerned about that.
The Astor's yellows right there, they also have, or they can have a distorted flower head with additional green petals up underneath it. That's more advanced right there, but yeah.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure this one is just what is it? A mite issue. And so I'm not going to treat that, and hopefully it'll get better over the summer. This is actually, a lot of people like the purple hyacinth bean, and this is actually one of those. It's not flowering yet, but before it's done, this is an arch that goes over the entrance to my vegetable garden. Before the year is over, I have them planted on both sides. this will be up to the top, and it'll put out its beautiful spikes of purple flowers. So I'm looking forward to that.
And this
That
is,
one's Lee's.
yes, this is our Purple Heart, which is in the spiderwort family. And it's a lovely perennial, and it's originally from the coast of Mexico. And it's beautiful purple plumage, and then the flowers then bloom in the morning about this time of year, and this pretty little pink flower.
Does yours make it through the winter outside?
Well, the roots make it through.
Okay.
But yes, it's a perennial.
Okay. I know.
Yeah.
If someone, we have a lot of different microclimates, of folks who watch this. And so if you're in one of the colder microclimates, it might not overwinter.
So
But if
yes,
you're,
several people in my
Yeah.
neighborhood, it all comes back.
so your neighborhood is in a microclimate that it's good.
Yep. And also my church's neighborhood too,
Oh, good.
where I have
Yeah.
it. And so yeah, once it frosts, it dies back, but then it comes back every spring, and it reseeds itself too.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get little itty bitty plants, especially in
sweet.
the cracks. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, and the cracks isn't always good. Yeah. So, one of the things is if you don't know whether if you get this plant or any other plant that is sort of on the edge of being a perennial here, you might want to take a cutting. With this one, you could take a cutting and bring it inside and overwinter it that way.
Yeah.
Pretty easy.
Yeah.
Some plants you can't do it that way, but
and also if you just take a cutting and stick the cutting in the ground, it'll root.
Right. But I'm talking about if you're concerned, if you don't know whether it's going to get through winter at your place. I know I'm near the top of a ridge, and I'm several degrees colder than a lot of Knoxville. And so some things that'll make it other neighborhoods don't make it in mine. So, we just have so many microclimates.
Because even when it's been down to 0, this plant comes back in the spring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I know places in Knoxville where it doesn't or hasn't reliably.
Okay.
So I'm just trying to say, don't bet the farm on it being perennial. Yeah. I don't want to argue with you, Lee, but
okay.
yeah.
My yard and your
It's sort of marginal. And not figs, pears. Pears are coming. They'll probably be ripe in another month. So these ones are ripe in August. And so I am looking forward to pear butter and dehydrated pears and all the good things you can make with pears. Okay, this is a cup plant, and the pollinators love it. The flower is only about this big around. It's not a huge flower. But I actually have cut these back earlier in the year, and because of that, the flower is only at 6 feet versus the 10 feet it would have been. So cup plant is a very tall plant. If you do have it, you do want to learn what the seedlings look like, because it can really take over an area. It does actively reseed itself. The seeds don't seem to travel very far. So the area where I have it, there's a lot of volunteers, but it is a pretty large plant. So, you want to be aware of that. I do rogue out quite a bit of them to keep it under control. Oh, this is a good suggestion from Lee.
Oh yes. So I don't, flea bites get me terrible. And so what I've learned to do is put a flea collar around my boot when I go out in the garden, and that keeps the fleas off me.
That's
So
awesome.
a large dog flea collar.
Hmm.
And so
I
I just,
actually benefit from being in a neighborhood that doesn't have fleas.
yay,
Yeah.
okay.
I don't know, quite a few years ago, I put out beneficial nematodes for allium maggots, and they're actually the same ones that attack flea larvae, that where they are starting in the ground. And so I don't know if that's what helped get rid of them. We didn't have many before then, but I have not seen a flea in quite a few years, which is amazing and wonderful. And there are beneficial nematodes that will help with that. So you do have to really follow the directions on applying them. This is not the time of year to do that. You need to do it when it's on the cooler side.
It looks like there are nematodes, beneficial nematodes for a
Mhm.
variety of things like
There
squirrel
are.
mites, ticks, fleas.
Hmm. Yeah. One of the problems now is if you ordered them, it's so hot that it's fairly likely they would die in shipping. So you got to wait till a little bit cooler weather.
Coffee grounds. It's great for fertilizing and for putting in your compost pile. And so what I do is I take a bucket to my church, and they have coffee every morning, and they put all the coffee grounds in there. And I have friends that take a bucket to places like Starbucks or
Mhm.
coffee shops and collect coffee grounds.
Yeah, and
They
some of
do.
the Starbucks will have, it looks like a trash can, and it'll have a sign that says grounds for gardeners, and it'll have bags of coffee grounds. Um, the only thing is, add it to your compost. Um, I don't suggest using it as mulch because I've tried it and seen it tried. Um, and what happens is it crusts over when it dries out, and it can become a problem. Have you had any experience like that, Lee?
No, but I usually put it in my compost pile, so
Okay.
not directly on my plants.
Ooh, Mary said
Some
she's
people,
having issues with ticks.
yeah.
I'll say if you're having issues with ticks, it means you have a possum deficiency in your neighborhood.
Oh,
Because, well, that's one of the things that possums really go after. And so, but as far as having them, so if you are, I would make sure and use some sort of repellent and, tuck your pants in your socks and, long sleeves and cover your hair. I would take all those precautions because that's a lot for this year, and I have heard it's supposed to be a bad year.
Mary, maybe put
Yeah.
out some cat food to pull in a
I
possum.
don't know. In most neighborhoods, you just end up with more cats. But yeah, oh, yeah. I had read that it was supposed to be a bad tick year. I don't have mature trees near me, and they tend to be near areas where there are mature trees. And so, that's another one I don't personally deal with, but I have in the past, and they're no fun. Okay, cucumbers. Um, if you planted your cucumbers early, you're very likely to getting to the end of cucumbers. I actually planted mine late, and I'm going the wrong way on the pictures. But I saw this one. It made a twin cucumber. There's almost always just one, and so this one was a cute little twin. Okay, Lee.
Oh yeah, so we wanted to talk a little bit this week about planting winter vegetables.
Mm-hmm.
And this is my kale that overwinters lovely.
Yeah. So
And
that's like from today, isn't it?
yeah,
Wow. How are you keeping the cabbage worms off of it?
I just trim it back regularly. And,
Wow.
and then
See,
yeah.
with the number of cabbage worms I've seen, it would be all chewed up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So different areas have different pest pressures, it
Mm-hmm.
seems like.
Yeah.
Okay, ticks seem to be in the front yard. She has possums. She does have possums in the backyard where the woods are. Yeah, I would definitely be sure to protect yourself going outside if you have a known tick issue. Oh, this is Lee's also.
Oh yeah. So last week we showed some of my tomato plants, and
Mhm.
so you can see the big leaf off to the right.
Right there.
And so when I get a big leaf like that, I prune it. And so the next slide
Mhm.
shows that where I pruned it off.
Yeah. And that is one of the, there's a couple different ways you can handle your tomato plants. And so pruning is one of them. So you can prune, what is it? Big side leaves. You can
Yep.
also prune suckers that come up.
Mm-hmm.
And many gardeners do that. And many gardeners don't. I'm actually a gardener who doesn't, but I'm not angry at the people who do. Um, they've done studies, and you actually do get about the same poundage of fruit, whether you prune or not. But when you prune, you do get larger fruit.
And the other thing I find is I have better airflow,
Mm-hmm.
and therefore I don't have disease issues.
Right. You don't have as many disease issues.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I will admit, I do have probably more disease issues. Um, but it's the way that works for me. I still get plenty of tomatoes, which is my goal.
Yeah.
So this is one of my plants, and you can't see it very well, but you can sort of tell this one has not been pruned. And I am seeing a little bit of early blight. This is low on the plant, and it is loaded with green tomatoes hiding in there. I think there's like more than a dozen in this plant, and they're nearly full size. And tomatoes always stay green way, way, way longer than I want them to. So I am very ready for these tomatoes to start ripening. Um, and one of the things that we often see is when people post pictures in the Facebook group and um, send them into our Ask a Master Gardener um, email, phone line, they'll take a close up of like this leaf here. And I meant to step back and take a picture of the whole plant. Because when you look at the whole plant, you can see that maybe 5% or less of the leaves have spots on them. And that level of damage is not panic level. That level of damage, if I were a really good gardener, I would remove all the damaged leaves and get that as much of that pathogen, that disease out of there. So even experienced gardeners don't always do the best practices that they know. It's time and energy. And so I know I will still get a good tomato crop off of these plants. And that is my goal.
Miss Amy,
Yeah.
when you were talking about taking pictures,
Mhm.
I'm adamant about that. I tell people to take a picture, like you mentioned, about the whole plant and the surrounding
Mhm.
area, so we can see other conditions that may be contributing to the problem. But
Right.
take a closer picture of the plant itself, and then zoom in on the problem area.
Right.
But those three right there, it's much easier to diagnose the problem.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, like for tomato plants in particular. Oh, this is another picture of, this is a different way that I do tomatoes. The other one was in a round rebar cage. This is in a flat cattle panel, so they're more spread out. But I haven't pruned this one either. But I am having a little blossom end rot. So as soon as I see tomatoes with this black on the tip, or it could be more like this, where I see it's not growing as good as the other tomatoes in the cluster, and I'll look and see, oh, does it have blossom end rot? And so this one did. I pulled it off. And so the other tomatoes should grow just fine. Every so often you'll end up with a tomato with internal blossom end rot, and when you cut it open, it'll be black inside. But that is the exception. So these are growing on a cattle panel, so instead of being sort of caged together, they're a little more spread out. And so as it grows, I will push the tips through the cage so it weaves back and forth through. Blossom end rot is a lack of calcium in the bottom of the forming fruit, but it's more related to the plant having enough water to transport the calcium up from its roots. So our soils are, I've never seen a soil test that was deficient in calcium in East Tennessee. And I've seen quite a few soil tests from different areas.
Because they got all that limestone.
Right, we're a limestone-based soil, so we're not likely to be calcium deficient. It's usually water deficiency. And a lot of people suggest putting Epsom salts. That seems like a bad idea to me, because if you have too much magnesium, Epsom salts are, what is it, magnesium sulfate? And if you have too much magnesium, it can actually block calcium absorption. So it is not the thing to do to help with blossom end rot. The thing to help with blossom end rot is regular watering, and make sure your plants have enough. And once a tomato has started an individual tomato fruit has started to have blossom end rot, it's not going to recover. So what I'm probably going to do with this one is I'm going to cut it up, and I've got this recipe for fried green tomato fritters that is really tasty. And so I can use the parts of it that aren't rotted and still get something out of that. If I catch it really small, I'll just throw it into the compost. Like I think that one I just threw toward my compost, so it won't pull any more energy from the plant. So that's how, that's the sort of the gist of blossom end rot. Um, the other advantage for me personally with not pruning is I do get tomato hornworms pretty regularly. I don't get them super bad, but I really can't tell very much because when you don't prune your tomatoes, you do have a lot of leaves. And so a tomato hornworm could eat quite a few leaves, and I might not even notice.
And Amy, you shared
Yeah.
earlier a great tip for people who do prune
Hmm.
their tomatoes and prune them back pretty fiercely about Western light. And you want to go
Yeah.
into that?
Oh, yeah. Um, one of the problems you can have is if you are someone who prunes your tomatoes, um, and your plants are getting afternoon sun, you can have issues with what's called sun scald, which is basically a sunburn on one side of the fruit. I've definitely seen some pictures in the group this year. And so I think one of the things you could do is actually leave some extra leaves on the west side of your plant to shade the fruit. Or you can put up a piece of shade cloth or row cover or something to shelter it a little bit if you're noticing that problem. Once the fruits get scalded, and it makes them look a little almost cooked at one side because that is what's happening. Um, they won't recover from that, but you can keep the next set of fruit from having it. Okay. Oh, this is another thing that can happen, and this happened with this plant. I didn't have it tied up initially, and so this part was laying down on the ground, and it decided to try to make roots. This can also happen if we're really humid, really hot and humid, and getting a lot of rain. Right now, I haven't been getting a lot of rain. So, but these are adventitious roots. And if I would have left it on the ground, it would have grown more because that's just the way tomatoes grow. Oh, I was going to talk about this. This is 2 different heirloom beans. This is a, sort of a regular green bean type bean that can either be eaten green or dried, called Roger Newsom. And this is a bean I got at a seed swap called Whippoorwill. And the stuff I looked up said it was a climbing one, and it doesn't look like it's a climbing one. So it looks like it's more of a bush type bean. It's a southern bean. So I have these 2 here, and they don't cross with each other. Their genetics are different. So they're different species. So I can grow them together and still keep the 2 different species going. So, but it looks like I'll have some nice beans. These have flower buds on them. Yeah. Oh, okay. Last week I told you I planted my peppers really late. I didn't get them watered well. And so these are the tags from the ones that died.
Oh,
Yeah, so I'm sort of keeping track of that. They died because they were small plants and I didn't get them watered appropriately when we were having the really hot high 90s weather, and they just didn't make it through it. So this is that bed, and so now I have some opportunities for fall. So I have a lot of open spots, and a lot of times I have trouble finding spaces to plant my fall garden. And so this year I have some extra. These plants in between are actually Thai basil, and they were fine with me not being as attentive as I should be. But basils are pretty tough. So we'll get to that. What is it? I forgot to pull up something that I was going to talk about with the weather. Okay, so this is a 10-day forecast coming up, and it's pretty easy to see. What is it doing? It is going to an ad that I don't want it to. Go back, go away, ad. There we are. Okay, where am I going to scroll down? Because I need to scroll down. There it is. Okay, you can see, even today and for most of the week, we have scattered thunderstorms predicted. But I actually took a screenshot so I'd be able to blow this up. So if you look at it, today we have 1/10 of an inch predicted. Tomorrow we have 18 hundredths of an inch predicted. Let's see, let's count that up. So that's, what is it? 2/10 of an inch so far. 23 hundredths of an inch. So what I'm trying to say here is, oftentimes when these scattered thunderstorms are predicted, you can see these small amounts on here. There's one, the biggest one is slightly over 1/4 of an inch. Oh, and there's another one that's a couple more that are almost 1/4 of an inch. When the weather's like this, your plants need between 1 and 2 inches of rain a week. And if you add all these up, they don't add up to that much. The other thing that happens is when it's been hot and dry, a lot of the rain, when it hits the ground and evaporates almost immediately. It doesn't soak in. So, this is pull out your hose, keep your irrigation system running. I've seen a lot of fescue lawns that are looking really rough right now because they are not getting enough water. And yes, Brian.
One more thing along the lines of what you're talking about. Keep in mind that these percentage chances of precipitation, rain, can be hit and miss. These little pockets, what I like to call popcorn thunderstorms right there, where they pop up, they rain, and then they're gone. We've all seen showers and thunderstorms heading toward us from the plateau area, but as soon as they hit the plateau and drop down, they fall apart.
Yep.
The other thing is, and I think it's almost sarcastically, these showers will come up to Knoxville, split apart, go on either side of Knoxville, and then come back together again on the other side.
Yeah.
I know that's not factual, but it sure seems like a lot of times. But do not gamble. What Miss Amy's talking about, here's following up on your irrigation. Do not gamble on your watering.
Right.
Yeah.
The other thing is, it is a good idea to have some sort of rain gauge on your property, because, I mean, I've talked to other gardeners in Knoxville, and they'll be like, "Did you get that big rain the other day? I got over an inch." And it's like, "Oh, no, I got nothing that day." Absolutely nothing.
Right.
You know, so different areas with these pop-up thunderstorms, they can dump, a half inch or an inch on one neighborhood, and then
Right.
a neighborhood a mile or two down the road gets nothing.
Right.
And so, if you're talking to a friend of yours and their experience is totally different, that's what these pop-up thunderstorms do. It can be very different.
Right.
Yeah. Let's see, I'm working on trying to get to, one of the things we were going to talk about is, it's hard to think about it, but it is time to start planting your fall vegetable garden. And for a lot of the vegetables, it is actually time to start transplants inside.
Y'all have a copy of the UT garden calendar, or post the web link?
We will do it.
Yep. Done it. Awesome. Yeah, the Tennessee Home Fruit and Vegetable Calendar is an awesome resource for that. I'm going to share my screen again because I pulled it up. Share my screen. And I'm going to make it so it's a little easier for you guys to see. There we go. That should be better. Oh, I did the wrong share. I shared my whole screen and not just that window, because you don't need to see all the other stuff on my screen, which is just us in our Zoom window. There we go. That's better. Okay, so what is it? As you come to this calendar, one of the things I want to point out is there's this planning. Oh no, this is the one that doesn't have the good links. Okay, let me go to bit dot. Where is it? Okay, bit.ly.ut calendars. Nope, that is not it. Actually, it's bit.ly/UT calendars. bit.ly/UT calendars. And then that gets you to this lovely page that has the home fruit and vegetable calendar on. Okay, there we are.
That's it.
Yeah, but this one has links that are clickable. So you can click on there and go to this garden planning and planting calendar. And so we'll come back to that in a minute. But as you go down, I'm going to go to May, June. Hope this isn't giving anyone headaches. July. So this is July, and it is hard to read. Come on, go down, down. July, so let me zoom in. So what day are we on now? We're on July 12th. No, it's doing more than I want it to. I don't even know what month I'm on now. What month am I on now? Okay, this is July. Okay, I'm on the right month. I'm trying to get to where I can see today. Okay. No, I want it to go up a little bit. There we go. Okay, record your harvests. And there actually are some sheets on the back of the page. Keep picking. It might be near peach time. Okay, so things that they've talked about this week is keep an eye on your moisture and irrigation. Don't let the weeds get out of control. Are you seeing any of the hornworms, tomato or tobacco? They're almost identical looking. Their spikes are a different color. They're little horns on their back. And then, do you have enough seed for a late planting of summer squash or cucumbers? I have to admit, I've had much more success with late plantings of squash than of cucumbers. Let's see. In many parts of Tennessee, late July is the time to start cool season transplants. So that's one of the things we want to look at today. So this publication here is going to give you all the information you need, and it's the garden planning and planting calendar. And it's listed, I think it's on the second page of the calendar. And so this is tells you your frost dates, which plants do best from transplants and which ones do best from seed. And then some plants you can do either one. It also goes into how to select your plants. And then it talks about if you're going to start your own transplants, how early you need to plant them. So like for broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, you want to start them 5 to 7 weeks before transplant time. And then for other things, it gives you the timings also. We're too late for, yeah. Did someone say something?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, that must be Brian.
Information.
I'm going to go ahead and mute Brian because he's talking to someone at the farmer's market. So it tells you about all that you need to know to start transplants, but I'm going to skip all this and go down to the bottom here. So right here, it tells you the planting time for a fall garden. And so we are in the planting time for a lot of things, but like for cabbage, you want to be planting it between August 1st and September 1st. But when we looked up higher, it said 5 to 7 weeks before the planting date is when you want to start your transplants. And so we are right in that window. So if you're going to grow out your own transplants to plant during this window here, for the cabbage family crops, you want to start them now. So broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage. We're a little bit out from starting carrots. You actually could start your collard greens this next week, and you usually plant those from seed. But you can do, this shows you, what things you can still do some plantings of. And we'll give you a better idea of what you're likely to be successful with. So, for me personally, I might plant some more summer squash since some of mine didn't make it on the trellis. I have some climbing squash that I've done in past years that I think I'm gonna start some more of. You do have to be really attentive to watering when you're starting from seed this time of year. It is really easy for things to dry out.
And don't you also make sure you need to harden off your transplants before
Yeah.
you plant them out?
Yes, if you're growing transplants, you need to harden them off pretty much the same way you do it in the spring. So hopefully in the next week or two, I'll get some broccoli and some cabbage started. I generally don't grow cauliflower. So I'll get some broccoli, cabbage, and possibly some kale started. I'm going to start some kale inside because of the cabbage worm issues. When I set it outside, I will put it under cover, under netting, to keep the cabbage worms off of them. I have seen cabbage worms flying around looking for places to lay eggs already
And
this year.
those are the white spotted
Mm-hmm.
cabbage moths, right?
Right, imported cabbage worm moth. and they're white and they have a little black patch on them, and they're pretty distinctive. And I think every day I've been outside, I've seen them fluttering around.
That's literally what they do. They flutter around the cabbage family
Mhm.
plants.
Yes, and they look for places to lay their eggs. Now, I do have a little bit of a purple cabbage that's in one of my green stock towers that actually made it through the winter and is still alive, but it is almost totally engulfed in ground cherries. I'll have to take a picture of it. Um, So the ground cherries are in the green stalk layer above it, and the kale is in the one below, and it's almost sort of growing through the ground cherries, and it's pretty small. Um, but it
Well,
looks sort of funny. The cabbage worms have not found that yet. The other thing I have noticed with the darker colored, the purple kale, is they don't seem to get as much damage. I think the birds are better able to find the cabbage worms on those, because they stand out from the stalk. On the green stalks, I'm going to stop sharing. Um, on green kale stalks and cabbage plants, those cabbage worms, they lay up against, you have the cabbage leaf and it's got the rib in the center, and the cabbage worm just lays in there when it's not feeding, and it is almost impossible to see. It so matches the color of that stalk. And it even matches the texture pretty well. So it's
mimicry.
really hard to see them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, we'll see what happens with that purple one that's growing through the ground cherries. And next week I'll bring some ground cherries and show everyone because I've gotten a few. Yeah, Brian, you'll have to unmute yourself again.
Okay, on the lines of what you were talking about there, our gardening calendar, I think, we are all of us gardeners tend to want to experiment. And I have encountered so many people, especially here just recently in the last couple of weeks, where folks, their tomatoes and their other crops are failing.
Yeah.
At least in their interpretation, they are failing right here, and they want to know why, what went wrong.
Yeah.
And when you guys and me, when we talk to folks about this UT fruit and vegetable gardening calendar right here, we're not saying this is, you have to do that right there. We're saying that this calendar is a guideline. And if you follow this, you have some pretty good chances of success right there. But that doesn't mean that you can't vary things particular to your garden right there. So don't be afraid to experiment, but also keep in mind, this is this is the guideline right here. And a lot of research has gone into these articles right here. And it's worth checking out, at least to start with.
Yeah. The other thing I've found, in my years as a vegetable gardener, I've been actively vegetable gardening and researching it, and for over 20 years now. And I have found some years are good years for certain crops, and some years are bad years for certain crops. And, like even if you talk to the market farmers, I think this is going to be a good tomato year and, a good year for certain vegetables, but it's probably going to be a bad year for certain other vegetables. And it just has to do with the weather conditions. And so, hopefully we'll get a little more regular rain, and that'll help the corn crop, because when we don't get rain, corn doesn't do well.
Well, when we get too much rain, my tomatoes split.
Yep. And oh, that's one thing I've seen a lot of talk about, people's tomatoes splitting with these pop-up thunderstorms. It's hard to know when you're going to get rain. And if the tomatoes have started to ripen, their skins get tougher, get a little tougher, and if we get a heavy rain, once they've, gotten to that stage, they will split. And different varieties are a little different. Some varieties are very prone to splitting, and then some aren't so much. I know sun gold tomatoes are so prone to splitting, that you get a pop-up thunderstorm and you have a bract of nearly ripe sun gold, and they will all be split in half. Yeah. But,
But
some of the older,
you can when they split, if you can eat them right away.
yeah, if
But
you get them quick,
yeah, if you get them quick.
if
Yeah.
you get them quick before they go moldy or, start to rot, you can get them, you can cook with them and, do what you want with them. But if you leave them, they're not going to be so good. The other thing is with bigger tomatoes, if they have split and they're pretty much ripe, you can cut that split area out of them, and that works. Because generally it's for bigger tomatoes, it's more of a surface split. With the sun gold, it's sort of halfway through the tomato. Yeah, but different varieties, and some varieties are more prone. Okay, someone put up a question about all their tomatoes were getting blossom end rot, and they put magnesium on it, and I thought we've already talked about the magnesium. But one of the things I have definitely found is some varieties of tomatoes are way more prone to blossom end rot than others. And I don't know the genetics of it, but it seems to be true. Yeah, Brian.
I talked to a lady at Pavilion Farmers Market
Mhm.
yesterday, and she was telling me all her tomatoes failed.
Mhm.
So inquiring in there, let's dig a little
Yeah.
deeper and find out what's behind this right here. Moisture, it's been a problem.
Mhm.
She has not been watering properly. She doesn't have any mulch in there. But the other thing that would really made me sad was that when she tries to research to
Mhm.
find out on how to grow tomatoes, um, uh, she uses Instagram.
Ooh,
Now,
that might be
Instagram,
hard.
well, Instagram, we know that our Garden Tips Live post there right there, but
Mhm.
I'm so sad that people will wander aimlessly through the internet
Yeah.
and they are looking at comments and they have no idea
Mm.
where these comments are coming from.
Right.
So I implore people, I'm constantly tell people use extension at the end of their search word.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, I can go on and on. Forgive me
Right.
for that.
Yeah. There's one thing I want to talk about, and this is sort of I see this regularly in our Facebook group, that someone will post a problem and we'll have a bunch of people saying, this is the solution, this is the solution. Um, or this worked for me, and that's fine. But a lot of times you need to know a little bit more about the situation.
Right.
It's like the lady who's having the problem with tomatoes, no one had asked her, are your tomatoes in a container? Because that's a totally different situation than in-ground tomatoes, or possibly a raised bed or in-ground. Um, have you fertilized them, and how have you fertilized them? So they haven't asked, how are you irrigating your tomatoes?
Right.
Um, so there's a lot of solutions given that are just popcorn solutions.
Yeah.
People pop out and it really helps to figure out what you have to know a little more about the situation. It's like, what is it? I've seen pictures of someone saying, my tree is dying, is looking sad. And they send a picture that shows basically the trunk had split in half almost years ago, because you can tell because the tree is starting to heal it. But they're saying this is a sudden problem. And,
Yeah,
there's a little more going on here.
right. I have had to interject in some of these comments
Mhm.
right here, and
Yeah.
I have resorted to using all capital letters.
Oh, oh
to my
no,
answer,
Brian's
and
shouting.
yes, and then including the web link for
Mhm.
further reading on here, because nobody is doing that themselves.
Yeah. So, it is really helpful. I mean, someone else's situation might not be exactly the situation that you had.
Their
You have,
garden is different. Yes.
right. And so it's good to start by asking a few questions, you know, instead of saying spray it with this or add this to the soil. Um, just to add a little more. Looks like Susan, if you're still out there, click into the video. I see that you made a couple comments and we didn't say anything because your comments are in the post on the Facebook group.
And
So
we've
not,
got 1
yeah.
minute left to wrap up, Miss Amy.
Oh, 1 minute. That's
Yeah,
all
it went by fast.
it did. Okay. What is it? Have a great time in your garden. Stay hydrated. Don't overdo it. Farmers markets are wonderful. I'm definitely going to be buying my peppers at farmers markets this year because
Miss
I
Miss
failed my
Amy,
plants.
do
Yeah,
you need Miss Amy? Do you need corn?
I'm good with corn this week.
Okay. All
Our
right. I'm gonna
household
leave it
is
alone.
small enough. I only need it every other week.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, but the farmers markets are loaded with tomatoes and squash and I think
Corn.
and corn and cucumbers and all sorts of vegetables. Eggplant is another new one to the market the past couple weeks because that really is a hot weather crop. I've seen okra, lots of good stuff. So if you are not growing it yourself, you can find it at the farmer's market. And I'm thankful that we have them. And so it's been a good day and happy gardening, everyone. And we'll see you all next week.
Yes.
And I got to find the right button. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.